Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. In Eastern Ice Hell, deep inside the snow, Luo Feng stood up with joy and laughed. I finally came up with the first move after 100 years. Congratulations, Master, Honed Heart Emperor replied with respect. Master has improved quite a bit, Jihong Emperor said. And now, Master can kill more creatures and take more tags in Ice Hell. You are more likely to collect 10,000 tags now. I don't let you two out, just to flatter me, Luo Feng laughed. I want you two to give me some advice. Advice? Honed Heart Emperor and Jihong Emperor looked at each other. I created the top move Moon Policy, which is for close combat. Now that I've created one more series for a spiritual force weapon, what name do you think I should use? Luo Feng asked. He had vetoed lots of other names before settling on Moon Policy. It was difficult to come up with an appropriate name. Since it is a series for a spiritual force weapon, Honed Heart Emperor said, and Master is using stars, and you created it in Ice Hell, why doesn't Master call it Star Hell? No, that's no good, Jihong Emperor said. Ice Hell is only a temporary habitat for Master, but these secret moves will follow Master, and their fame will be spread when Master achieves success and wins recognition. Ice Hell can't even come close. From my perspective, I reckon Beast God is more appropriate, as Master is following the path of the Beast God and able to form a Beast God by wielding the spiritual force weapon. Although Beast God sounds a bit reckless, it shows Master's aim to achieve the Beast God level. Sometimes, it's okay to be overbearing. The name Beast God is a given. Luo Feng kept shaking his head. Asterisk 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 asterisk. While Jihong Emperor and Honed Heart Emperor were giving advice, Luo Feng was also contemplating. One name came up after another. Some were mighty while some were conservative. However, it was almost impossible to satisfy Luo Feng. Eventually, Luo Feng settled on a name that was simple and ordinary, but fit his criteria. I'll call it 10,000 Star Sermon Map. There was a trace of expectation in Luo Feng's eyes. His secret moves were revealing his Tao, and there were only 10,000 stars in Star Tower. According to Zhuoshan Ku, Luo Feng could only exercise 10 of them. The name 10,000 Star Sermon Map represented Luo Feng's ambition to exercise all the stars. It was not necessary to explain the inclusion of the word sermon. The first move is speedy, he said. I'll call it Hit the Light Racing Star. Luo Feng came up with this name pretty quickly. The first move of 10,000 Star Sermon Map, Hit the Light Racing Star. It had only taken Luo Feng 100 years to create this move. In contrast, Luo Feng had spent 1,000 years coming up with Galaxy on the Sky. There were two reasons why he had spent such a shorter length of time on the new move. Firstly, Luo Feng was on a higher level now. Secondly, the move 10,000 Star Sermon Map was derived from the first chapter of Nan Shen's 7 moves, together with the conception of the Beast God. Also, Luo Feng had more experience when inventing 10,000 Star Sermon Map. It was not that Luo Feng didn't want to create it according to the second chapter, Muscle. That one was more difficult. The second move was easier when there was a first one. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Luo Feng brought Jihong Emperor and Honed Heart Emperor back to his ring and decided to walk out of the cave. I've created the move suitable for Sky Map and significantly increased my power, he said. I'm going to try it now and see teacher after 10 combats. Luo Feng stopped at the exit of the cave and frowned. Why did Chaos City teacher only ask me to go find him after 10 battles, without saying another word? Instead of complimenting me, he only asked me to come find him after 10 battles. Does that mean he's not satisfied with the moves I created for my weapon? Luo Feng thought of all the possible reasons. He was actually very perceptive. He didn't dig into the implication of the Castellan's words, because he was overjoyed after successfully creating his first move after 100 years. Not satisfied. Is it because I didn't concentrate? Luo Feng figured out the reason instantly. It was so obvious, it was common sense. The powerful ones needed to focus on one move, and they needed to concentrate on one move no matter how talented they were. Dividing their focus into two was a stupid strategy. For instance, Bran had previously studied space law and time law at the same time, but only after he had gone through severe adversaries had he recognized the correct path. "He's not happy that I'm creating a move for spiritual force weapons," said Luo Feng. "That means he wants me to take the warrior path. I have a powerful spiritual force and a high amplitude thereof," thought Luo Feng. "I'm fit for the path of a spiritual leader. Castellan teacher knows this. Why does he want me to follow the warrior school?" Luo Feng was talented enough to follow both the warrior path and the spiritual leader path. Which path to choose? Castellan wanted Luo Feng to follow the warrior path. Teacher knows some secrets, Luo Feng contemplated. However, Zhuoshanku suggested that I should follow the spiritual force leader path, and that's why he left me the force armor and star tower. The star tower, in particular, which is a spiritual force weapon, is one of the most powerful weapons in the universe. It will be a total waste if I don't study into the spiritual force leader path. Besides, he didn't have a treasure for close combat like Flaming God Halberd, owned by his second brother, Flaming Emperor. Doesn't matter, Luo Feng thought. Zhuoshanku is one of the most powerful creatures in the universe, and he should know more than Castellan. Moreover, Earthlings were taught and guided by teachers Zhuoshanku, and he should know my potential is more for the spiritual force leader path. Also, it will only take me a little more time to study moon policy and 10,000 star sermon map at the same time. I'll study them at the same time, and will choose between one of them if there are some secrets I don't know. Luo Feng made up his mind. He stepped out of the cave. He soared, and the snow was like air, unable to create any friction. Luo Feng flew to the ground in an instant. Asterisk 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 asterisk. It was white and freezing in the vast snowfield. Luo Feng flew in the sky and overlooked the surroundings. "I need to find someone to fight with," Luo Feng said, looking around. "How can I find someone to fight with if everyone is hiding? I'll try my luck first." Luo Feng flew like a beam of light. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Inside a palace in northern Ice Hell, on the peak of the iceberg, one of the 5 invincible emperors, Silver Eye, sat on the throne like a sculpture. He was much more nonchalant than he had once been, after an infinite amount of time spent in Ice Hell. Sometimes, he wouldn't even move for tens of thousands of years. Outside the palace, an emperor in black armor guarded the door. Suddenly, a silhouette belonging to one of the 2 slaves of Silver Eye appeared. "Have you found the human?" "We haven't," said the slave. "Nobody has been able to do that since his battle with Bone Emperor. He has completely vanished." The 2 slaves talked to each other. They would go out and search for Luo Feng, and would immediately report to their master Silver Eye if they found him. "Protect master," the black-armored slave said. "I'll go out and search." And then he teleported himself. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Luo Feng had hidden himself for 100 years, and those who wanted to fight him in the first place had temporarily given up. "I can't find any of them," Luo Feng murmured as he flew through the entire area of Eastern Ice Hell and stopped above Ice Sea. "It seems these powerful creatures usually hide themselves. I'll need some special methods to get them out." Luo Feng overlooked Ice Sea and suddenly became sharp. Break. A spiritual force dove toward the ice. When Luo Feng's spiritual force awakened on the earth the first time, his force could twist concrete iron. Now, Luo Feng could destroy a neutron star without even trying. One could extrapolate what the ice would be like when hit by his force. All the ice within the tens of thousands of squared meters vanished, and the tremble made the faraway ice crack, as if crushed beneath the weight of a great beast. The wave spread. Some powerful creatures will notice it in no time, Luo Feng thought. The real powerful creatures in Ice Hell will come out. Asterisk 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 asterisk. A powerful creature living tens of millions of kilometers away felt it. Energy wave. Who's fighting? The creature inclined his head out of the ice and saw the shadow. Human. The creature was shocked, and it snuck back to the sea. The human showed up, it said. The top 10 limit emperors and the 5 invincible emperors are all looking for him. And he dared to show up. The creature was surprised inside, but didn't have the guts to test him. He knew he wasn't his match, since the human could flee from one of the top 10 limit emperors, and was ranked fastest according to Bone Emperor. As for telling the secret, there was no upside to telling Silver Eye. He might be killed for doing that. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The wave spread everywhere. More and more powerful barbarian creatures noticed it, but none of them dared to show up, knowing it was the notoriously high-ranked human. The energy wave gradually wore off and disappeared. No one. Luo Feng stood in the sky for a long time, and couldn't find anyone. I can't believe no one showed up. Luo Feng looked afar and bombarded the ice with his spiritual force. Hong! 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 It wasn't until after the third time he hit the ice that a creature finally accepted the challenge. The fragments of the ice were all over the sky because of the spiritual force. A silhouette marched toward Luo Feng among the bits. Luo Feng stood above ice hell and saw the shadow. You dare to show up, human? The vigorous and forceful voice pierced through the void while a mighty, godly power spread everywhere. The fragments turned into nothing instantly, and the entire area became clear and bright. Luo Feng could finally see the powerful creature clearly. He had a lion-shaped lower body with 4 hoofs, whereas he possessed a human upper body with 4 muscular arms. His body was dark blue, as if it were made of metal. Luo Feng identified this creature. Lightning Racing Emperor, ranked 12 and proficient in Law of Time. It's him, Luo Feng said. He was dazed. Although he is only ranked slightly lower than Bone Emperor, there's almost no gap between the top 10 limit emperors. Besides, this one is proficient in Law of Time, while my edge is teleportation. Things won't end well for me if he stops the time. However, the anxiety could also heighten his aggressiveness. Why wouldn't I have the guts to show up? Luo Feng's voice resounded across the entire ice sea. You think I'm scared of you? Even Bone Emperor couldn't defeat me, not to mention you. Human, don't you know that 2 of the 5 invincible emperors are looking for you? Lightning Racing Emperor roared. Luo Feng suddenly had goosebumps. 5 invincible emperors. They were the strongest in Ice Hell, and 3 of them were special creatures. Luo Feng couldn't underestimate them. Both Silver Eye and Blood Dog looked for you before, Lightning Racing Emperor continued. Both are special creatures, Luo Feng muttered. Then he shouted aloud, so what? Does that mean I should hide forever? He grimaced. Yes, said Lightning Racing Emperor. There's no point for them to look for you. Because I will kill you today. Lightning Racing Emperor's voice struck like thunder. He had told Luo Feng that both Silver Eye and Blood Dog were looking for him just to make him anxious. Die, human. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Combat began instantly. More than 30 barbarian creatures were watching it from all around. The humans fighting Lightning Racing Emperor. The human might be defeated. The human is speedy. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The combat between them went wild. Thunder God roaming. Lightning Racing Emperor growled, bearing down on Luo Feng like an immortal ox. He roamed the void, which cracked under his force, and the electric snake fluttered. What irritated Luo Feng the most was how variable the speed of Lightning Racing Emperor was. Before Luo Feng was well prepared, Lightning Racing Emperor arrived right in front of him. Lightning Racing Emperor's hoofs stepped toward Luo Feng, and the fluttering electric snake could turn a planet into dust. He stepped right on Luo Feng's back while his Shou Wu wing shielded him from hundreds of constant attacks. Luo Feng crashed into ice sea and caused tremendous waves. All of a sudden, a silver lining flew out, it was Lu Feng, unharmed. Take this, lightning racing emperor. Luo Feng threw 8 black balls out of the wave, and secretly started to exercise the spiritual attack, Soul Blade. Lightning racing emperor started to roam with the void again. 4 ancient chains appeared around his arms, and each of his hands held 1 chain. The electric snakes were rotating around the chains, and just when he was about to fight against Luo Feng's spiritual force weapon, Soul Blade hit him. Lightning racing emperor felt pain. Human. Lightning racing emperor roared while flinging the 4 chains. Space and time were changing rapidly under the effect of the 4 chains. Scar of thunder. One of the chains of lightning racing emperor burst out like a hunting snake and pierced the sky with a light. The chain rushed to the barely formed phantom of beast god, whose tail slashed the chain. 8 black balls hit the chain, but bounced back. Human, what else can you do except run? Lightning racing emperor laughed recklessly, and flew toward Luo Feng. He was holding the 4 chains, each of which was terrifying, and turned the realm into the territory of the lightning chains. Luo Feng took back the 8 stars and looked at lightning racing emperor. He thought to himself, I couldn't exercise a splash of whip shadow as well as lightning racing emperor, bone emperor, and Haiti emperor. He opened his wings and tried to get away from lightning racing emperor. Don't you dare run, he roared. That was when he realized what the fastest in ice hell truly meant. Luo Feng didn't even glance at him. Instead, he stared at his left palm. Now it's time to see how good my spiritual force weapon works, after 100 years of practice. A shred of expectation flashed in Luo Feng's eyes. Instantly, engravings appeared on the star map on his hand. 16 stars were needed to carry such complex engravings. 8 of the stars had purple halos around them while the other 8 didn't. Go. Show him the power of lightning racing star. 16 stars flew up, connected by tens of thousands of threads, which set off the universe origin law. A huge beast god that was over 1,000 meters long appeared above Ice Sea. The beast god looked unstable, as if it could crumble at any moment. However, each scale on the tail of the beast god was as distinct as possible. The scales laminated each other and formed the tail, which emanated an almighty force. Other parts of the tail were like air. Lightning racing emperor guffawed while staring at the tail. This phantom's inferior to the previous one. I can destroy it with 1 blow. He reckoned that the tail would be a threat. Go. The 4 chains charged the beast god like 4 bolts of lightning. Howl. The tail covered with scales moved when the 4 chains raced toward him. The move was terrifically swift, and the tail slashed one of the chains. The other 3 chains tried to attack the beast god, but they were all twisted and fell back. Good. Luo Feng smiled. It can actually ward off lightning racing emperor's attack. As expected, Star Map will not let me down if I study the law of spiritual force weapon thoroughly. Asterisk 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 asterisk. All the barbarian creatures watching the battle were shocked to their very core. They had lived in ice hell for such a long time, that 100 years was merely a blink of an eye to them. They couldn't imagine that the human, who could only flee when battling Bone Emperor, could defeat Lightning Racing Emperor in hand-to-hand combat. He is the equal of the top 10 limit emperors. How could he improve so quickly? This is incredible. Asterisk 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 asterisk. To Luo Feng, this was all totally conceivable. Each of the stars in the star map was invaluable, and 16 stars, perfectly connected, made each other the much more powerful under Luo Feng's secret move. That's why star map was invaluable. Because if it were not for the panorama, owning even 1 billion stars would be pointless. Creating my own secret move is the only way to utilize the treasure, Luo Feng said, feeling joyful inside. However, according to the description on the ranking, the chains of Bone Emperor can merge into one, and that's when its power reaches its peak. And he hasn't exercised time pause. I should be more careful. Asterisk 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 asterisk. One of the servants of Silver Eye flew slowly above Eastern Ice Hell. He wore black armor and was looking for the human. I'm actually giving myself a day off in the name of searching for the human, the servant said, looking relaxed. It's so difficult to find the human, and nobody will attack me, because they all know I'm the servant of Silver Eye. It's such a relief. The black armored servant looked in the direction of Ice Sea. Energy wave. I'll go and take a look. The servant teleported himself. He arrived tens of millions of kilometers away from the battlefield and saw two shadows. The bigger one was the phantom of Beast God, and the smaller one was of Lightning Racing Emperor. Lightning Racing Emperor is fighting a beast, said the servant. Wait. Where did the beast come from? The servant opened his eyes wider and saw the figure of a human. It's the human. The human's here. That's right. The phantom comes from his spiritual force weapon attack. The information on him confirms this. The servant was ecstatic. I found the human. This is a huge contribution. Master will be overjoyed. I'll go tell my master now. The servant teleported himself and vanished into the sky of Eastern Ice Hell. He teleported himself to the entry of Silver Eye's palace. Lightning Racing Emperor pulled his chains back in shock. Defeat. Lightning Racing Emperor couldn't believe it. He thought this was the human who ran from Bone Emperor. His chain was a treasure he had obtained after countless battles in Ice Hell, and it was mighty. It could be divided into several chains, and the separate ones could be combined into one. Combine. The chains around the arms of Lightning Racing Emperor instantly touched and shrank, becoming one ordinary, rusty chain. Howl. The phantom of Beast God charged him roaring, and the tail that was longer than the original body made the Beast God anxious. Whip of thunder. Lightning Racing Emperor waved the chain in his hand, growling. The chain gradually pierced space, and the speed of time in different areas was changing, created by the exterminating power formed by the disorderly time attached to the chain. The seemingly slow chain actually moved faster than the phantom. The void was cracking. The tail quickly slashed the phantom like lightning and forcefully hit the chain. One was the exterminating power of thunder and time, and the chain was more fit for thunder and space. The other was the might power of gold and space. Each of the 16 stars was worth as much as the chain, and the 16 stars were combined into one after merging into the map. The chain was hit away, while the tail was quick as lightning, sweeping through Lightning Racing Emperor. The Emperor could not outpace the phantom, and his godly body was cracked by the tail. The 16 stars were dimming around the tail, and his godly body eroded when it touched those stars. Damn. The body of Lightning Racing Emperor gathered, and he pulled back the chain, glaring at Luo Feng. I'll never forget this, human. Lightning Racing Emperor turned into a beam of light, and wanted to flee. I won't let you flee that easy. Luo Feng couldn't keep up with him from such distance. However, he exercised his spiritual force, and the beast god surpassed Lightning Racing Emperor and blocked him. The terrific tail slashed toward Lightning Racing Emperor. Goddamn human. You made me do it. Lightning Racing Emperor roared, and the power became hundreds of times stronger. It crushed the beast god and the 16 stars were blast away. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The creatures watching the battle stealthily were dazed. Lightning Racing Emperor is burning his body. Lightning Racing Emperor is forced to burn his own body. Luo Feng, who could barely flee from Bone Emperor 100 years ago, left Lightning Racing Emperor no choice but to run away. This was outrageous. Interesting. Now the human has to burn his godly body. Lightning Racing Emperor's power surged, and the human is only as powerful as, if not more powerful than Lightning Racing God. He needs to burn his own body to match Lightning Racing Emperor. That human is as stupid as one can be. Just let the Emperor run away if he wants to. He's forcing each other to engage in a deadly fight by stopping him. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Luo Feng was shocked. Lightning Racing Emperor was burning his body, whereas he wasn't able to do the same. You can go now, Lightning Racing Emperor. Luo Feng shook his wings and fled like a beam of tortuous light. At the same time, the 16 stars flew back to Luo Feng's palm. goddamn human. Lightning Racing Emperor held the chain and smashed everything with his hoofs. The void kept cracking, charging Luo Feng incredibly quickly. Tortuous Loki appeared in the sky. Once Luo Feng reached his speed limit and began changing his directions instantly, he was extraordinarily fast. One could see that the distance between Lightning Racing Emperor and Luo Feng was getting larger. No matter how Lightning Racing Emperor burned his body, he still failed to catch up with Luo Feng in terms of explosivity. It's impossible. How is this possible? The first in Ice Hell. The first in Ice Hell. It was an eye-opener to all the creatures. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. It's too late for you to flee now. Lightning Racing Emperor was furious and kept chasing Luo Feng. He wanted to exercise the move time stop. However, Luo Feng was running farther and farther away, and he wasn't sure whether it would work or not. Time stop was almighty. However, there were severe limitations to it. For space, it couldn't be affected, no matter how fierce the combat was. As for time stop, it was different. Once time stop was imposed on a certain district, all the lives would be affected, except the soul and the conscious. Everything else would be fettered, and it would take a long time to break away, which gave the imposer adequate time to kill the opponent. Exercising time stop first and killing the opponent, who was not able to move. How incredible was that? However, firstly, it would cause severe backslash from the opponent's bodies and weapons, and he must be able to narrow the time stop district. The smaller the district was, the stronger the effect would be imposed on the human. Secondly, he must impose it in the enemy's region. Nevertheless, Luo Feng was a spirit reader, and he was always releasing his spiritual force. Once Luo Feng detected Lightning Racing Emperor's godly power, he would be alerted. And Lightning Racing Emperor was not able to exercise time stop in time to make sure Luo Feng stayed in the ideal region. He was burning his godly body, and his power was surging. As a result, Lightning Racing Emperor was able to impose time stop on the larger region. However, Luo Feng was sharp-witted enough to run as far away as possible. It was more difficult to impose time stop from such a long distance, especially under the great pressure in Ice Hell. Wicked human. Lightning Racing Emperor was furious. He didn't intend to kill the human. Instead, he was only meant to force the human to burn his body without expecting that he wouldn't even do that. Damn. Lightning Racing Emperor turned into a beam of light and vanished. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. In Northern Ice Hell, inside the palace on the peak of the iceberg, the one in the throne stood up. "Are you serious?" said Silver Eye. "I'm not lying, Master," said his servant. "The human is fighting Lightning Racing Emperor right now. We need to go immediately, the fight will be over if we arrive late." The servant was urging Silver Eye to hurry. He didn't even want to waste another second in talking, because he knew how fast the battle could be. Silver Eye grabbed the servant. "Lead me there." "Yes, Master." The servant teleported them to the battlefield. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Above Ice Sea, all the powerful creatures had already gone back to their homes. The battle left them with nothing but shock. "He was able to defeat Lightning Racing Emperor, and forced him to burn his body," said one onlooker. The most unbelievable thing was that he ran away successfully without even burning his own body. Lightning Racing Emperor must be deranged. The 10 top limit emperors, each of them being equally powerful, had never run into any defeats. This time, it was a major defeat for this emperor. The human is so fast. Lightning Racing Emperor can't reach him even by burning his body. While the creatures were returning to their homes, they felt a dreadful energy wave, which made them look up to the ice. A snow-white figure was floating in the sky, sending out a power that overwhelmed those creatures. Silver Eye. It's Silver Eye. Master of Northern Ice Hell. Silver Eye. Those powerful creatures, who had lived in Ice Hell for an infinite amount of time, had forgotten a lot about the world outside. The only thing they knew was the 5 invincible emperors, Silver Eye being one of most ghastly. According to a rumor, any creature, except the other 4 invincible emperors, would meet certain death if they saw his Silver Eye. Fortunately, Silver Eye knew that he couldn't gather enough tags, even if he killed all those weaker than him, because most of the tags were distributed among the 5 invincible emperors. Besides, he didn't want ice hell to be boring. That's why he ignored the weak. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Luo Feng was sighing. The distinction between the powerful ones inside and outside ice hell is manifested in Lightning Racing Emperor. Powerful creatures like him must own several treasures, at least one of them being a shield. His body wouldn't be broken by my stars that easily if he had a shielding treasure. However, there are significantly fewer treasures in ice hell, and they were all brought by the powerful ones. Luo Feng was prepared to fly away, thinking to himself. However, a mighty force spread. Luo Feng looked up. A 30-meter-tall god dressed in white armor was standing in the void afar. There was a giant scar on his forehead, but his eyes were missing. His utter desolateness was emanating, and Luo Feng could feel gloominess from him merely standing there. Space froze. Silver Eye. Luo Feng said, terrified. One of the 5 invincible emperors. Silver Eye. Special life Silver Eye. He had already known how petrifying Silver Eye was. However, the moment Luo Feng actually saw him, out of nowhere, a great sense of danger rose. Silver Eye stood afar and said in a tranquil voice, human. Give me the anonymous account to the virtual universe or die. His black-armored servant was standing behind him in awe. White-armored Silver Eye stood in the sky, waiting for Luo Feng's answer. Luo Feng felt like he was in danger, but he looked up at Silver Eye keenly and said, I don't have an anonymous account. Will you let me go? I'll kill you and check your world ring. Silver Eye overlooked Luo Feng and said nonchalantly. You don't trust me. Luo Feng said. I don't trust anyone but my servants in ice hell, Silver Eye said slowly. The black-armored servant glared at Luo Feng and yelled, hand over the anonymous sensor now, human. Or master will kill you. Don't tell us you don't have the sensor. We don't believe you. Luo Feng nodded. Yes, I have the sensor. Silver Eye looked more aggressive. But I don't want to give it to you. Luo Feng smirked and showed his teeth. You want to die, the servant roared. It seems you're craving for death, Silver Eye said in a deep voice. I'll die just because you said so. Luo Feng glared at Silver Eye, and he could feel his blood boiling. He was filled with belligerence. He wasn't a chicken when he had faced the golden horned beast before. And he dared to steal the black metal knowing that both the Green Knight and the Purple Knight were there. Right now, he had 3 invaluable treasures, together with armor and General Soul Auxiliary. What was more, the beast god had reached level 20, and he had created his own secret technique. How was it possible that he would run away without a fight, just because Silver Eye was only an invincible emperor? How was it possible that he would hand over the anonymous sensor just because he was asked to do so? Silver Eye was being delusional. Fight. 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 Luo Feng kept glaring at Silver Eye and smirked. Silver Eye, I came to Ice Hell to fight each of the powerful creatures. Now that the top 10 peak emperors are no longer a threat, you 5 invincible ones are my major target. I'll fight all 5 of you, and you're the first one. You're not afraid of death. Silver Eye's eyes were closed the whole time. He acted as if each inch of his skin were examining the surroundings. You can't kill me. Luo Feng yelled. Luo Feng wasn't anxious at all. Instead, he was excited and proud. He remembered how he became an apprentice to Truyang Emperor when he first stepped into Chaos City. After 10,000 years, he was now fighting Silver Eye, who was Truyang Emperor's equal. This was the first time he would fight someone so powerful. Come. Show me how powerful the legendary Invincible Emperor is. Luo Feng was shouting inside. Show me how strong this so-called special creature is, he said. Luo Feng's mental faculties were strengthening and concentrating. Only this sort of fight could harden him. As you wish, Silver Eye said mildly. He waved his transparent palm, while his slave was looking at Luo Feng with pity. His hands looked like diamonds, and the moment he waved his hands, Luo Feng felt the shape change in the area. Luo Feng shook his wings and tried to escape, while summoning the 16 black balls. Tens of thousands of threads started to connect the balls and formed the phantom of the beast god. "There's no way you can escape," Silver Eye's voice was still echoing. An enormous palm was formed. The ice crystal palm turned around and tried to slap Luo Feng. "What is this? Attack of space law." Luo Feng manipulated the phantom to strike the palm, while dodging it with Showu Wing. The scene dazed Luo Feng. He recalled the ancient panorama he had seen in Blood River World, and one of them depicted how the palm was cracked by the tail of the beast god. Apparently, the two on the panorama were much more powerful than Luo Feng and Silver Eye, as one of them was the real beast god and the other was the great creature that defeated the beast god. However, there were lots of similarities between the two fights. The phantom fiercely brandished its scale-covered tail to defend against the diamond palm. The tail whipped the diamond palm like a thunder. Both of them were more than 1,000 meters long, and the clash caused a blast. The phantom and the palm trembled at the same time. The phantom broke apart, and the 16 black balls swiftly flew toward Luo Feng. As for the palm, it cracked like ice. Silver Eye, proficient at time law and having learned law of space, Luo Feng marveled. He is much better at the time law than law of space, but he can still wield such power utilizing the law of space. Incredible. Luo Feng could feel how forceful Silver Eye was. His body constitution was tens of millions of times more powerful than that of Sector Lords, and his move was exquisite. A simple strike could suppress the most powerful attack from Luo Feng's treasure, which stemmed from his intense training. Silver Eye exhaled. "Good of you to take the first strike. Now I see why you're so arrogant." "Not arrogant, but confident," said Luo Feng. "Stop bragging and show me your best move, Silver Eye." Luo Feng opened his wings and stood afar. "Okay." Silver Eye faced Luo Feng. He felt like he was being stared at by countless eyes even though Silver Eye still hadn't opened his eyes. A crystal finger showed up right in front of Luo Feng out of nowhere. The whole space had been solidified, thus, Luo Feng couldn't teleport himself. Obviously, Silver Eye excelled in the flow of time. Just when Luo Feng was trying to close his wings, an invisible wave spread across the entire area. Luo Feng couldn't move a muscle. It was time stop. "It's time stop," said Luo Feng. "I was hit." Pathetic, Silver Eye sighed and tried to pierce Luo Feng with the diamond finger. Break. 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 Luo Feng's mental faculties went wild and emboldened his entire body. Showu Wing, the star map, and Tower Pearl were all trembling. Under Luo Feng's spiritual force, which was stronger than most of the universe knights, the treasures broke loose from the constraint. Break. Luo Feng roared in his mind. Showu Wing warded off the finger. Luo Feng bounced off like a meteor under the terrific shockwave. Luo Feng was relieved. "Lucky that I can break away from time stop." Silver Eye is cunning. The giant palm and crystal finger were both formed by the godly power from afar, which made me less careful about the force around me. That's how the move worked. Thoughts flooded Luo Feng's mind. Of course, the main reason time stop worked on me was his power. Although his force was permeating, his main force still remained around his finger, which was far away from me. He was actually able to exercise time stop, and it went into effect, which means he is much stronger than Lightning Racing Emperor. I've never met any stronger barbarian creature in practice. Just as Luo Feng was shocked, Silver Eye and his slave were equally amazed. He dodged it. The servant couldn't believe it. "I can't even remember how many powerful creatures have died because of Master's Death God's point, yet he managed to dodge it. He's even able to break from Master's time stop. How is this possible?" Asterisk 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 asterisk. In the distance, all the creatures watching in various places were shocked to their very cores. They weren't all that surprised when Luo Feng withstood the slap. After all, he was powerful enough to suppress Lightning Racing Emperor. However, when Luo Feng held out against his point. Death God's Point. The Death God's Point of Silver Eye. Though Silver Eye knew of law of space, he's actually proficient in time law. His Death God's Point is a move mixed with both time attack and soul attack. It starts with time stop, and the finger contains a soul-eroding attack that corrodes the enemy's soul in secret, after which the enemy won't be able to fight back. The human is powerful enough to resist Death God's Point. The two moves Silver Eye uses to roam Ice Hell, one of them being Death God's Point, the other being Silver Stare, pose a threat even to the other 4 invincible emperors. Maybe we can see that move today. Pathetic human. If Silver Eye opens his eyes, the human will be doomed. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Silver Eye was also amazed. That ordinary point was one of his secret techniques. He had aced the move time stop, and that soul-eroding move was insidious. However, the human was capable of breaking loose of time stop in such a short time. And that crystal finger was not having an effect on the human, even though it touched him and began eroding his soul. Luo Feng floated in the sky with his wings open. Cunning move, indeed. Unfortunately, it's of no use. Silver Eye, show me your other moves. Although attacking skills were his shortcoming, he had extraordinary defending abilities. He had robust body defense power, and his soul defense was even stronger. Luo Feng thought, although I was not able to charge him as he does, I can protect myself with no problem. Human, you're indeed strong, Silver Eye said slowly. I'll leave if you can survive this. All the other creatures hit by this move have died except the other 4 invincible emperors. This is Silver Stare. The crack on his forehead slowly opened, changing the speed of time and trembling space. This video will end here.